Hey everyone! Today, we're going to talk about something huge. We're going to explore the invisible web that connects a star 93 million miles away, all the way down to the energy you're using at this very second. It's an amazing journey from the cosmic down to the microscopic, and it shows how everything, and I mean everything, is connected.
So, let me start with a question for you. Think about it. The energy you're using right now to watch this, to hear my voice, to even think, where did it really come from? I'm not talking about the lunch you had. I mean its ultimate original source. Well, the answer starts in the heart of a star.
To get to the bottom of this, we've got to follow the trail. It's this incredible journey of energy that starts with a massive blast of radiation, travels across 93 million miles of pure, empty space, all from one single source.
You guessed it, the sun. It is, without a doubt, the massive engine that powers almost every living thing on this planet. But that leads to the next big question, right? How does raw sunlight get turned into the fuel that's powering your brain at this very moment?
Well, that energy gets passed along through what we call a food chain. And chain is an okay word, but I think it's way more like a cosmic relay race, where this little baton of energy gets handed off from one organism to the next.
Let's trace that energy baton, shall we? It all starts with something like grass, which is a producer. It literally makes its own food just by soaking up sunlight. Then a mouse, our primary consumer, comes along and eats the grass. Next, a snake eats the mouse. And finally, a hawk swoops down and eats the snake. And just like that, pure energy from the sun is now powering the flight of a hawk. It's amazing.
Okay, but out of that entire chain, the most critical link, the real MVP, is that very first one, the producers. They are the planet's green engine. They're basically the only things on Earth that can take raw sunlight and turn it into actual fuel for everybody else.
And they do this using an incredible, almost magical process called photosynthesis. Seriously, this one single chemical reaction is arguably the most important one for life on Earth. It's how our planet turns light into life. Now, to make this whole thing work, plants have this brilliant two-way plumbing system. You can think of the xylem as an elevator, constantly pulling water up from the roots to the leaves. Then, once the leaves cook up that sugary fuel, the phloem acts like a delivery service, taking that energy down to every other part of the plant.
So, what's the secret sauce here? Well, you start with 3 key ingredients: sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide. The plant's green stuff, the chlorophyll, grabs that sunlight, and that energy then powers this little chemical factory that pumps out a sugar called glucose. And here's the best part for us, the waste product is oxygen. Yeah, the very air we're breathing right now is basically plant exhaust. Pretty cool, right?
So you see, this whole web of life is this beautifully balanced, intricate system, but it's also incredibly fragile. And as you can probably guess, human activity can really throw a wrench in the works, sometimes with some pretty devastating results.
Let's take coral reefs as a perfect example. I mean, these aren't just pretty structures under the sea. They are bustling, vibrant cities totally essential for thousands and thousands of different species. They're basically the rainforests of the ocean.
But yeah, they are in some serious trouble. See, as our oceans get warmer, the corals get super stressed out. And when they're stressed, they literally kick out the algae that live inside them. The problem is that algae provides the coral with both its food and all its beautiful color. So without it, the coral starts to starve, and it turns this ghostly skeletal white.
And if the heat wasn't bad enough, we have to talk about plastic. Sea turtles see a floating plastic bag and think it's a jellyfish, lunch. Other marine life gets tangled up and trapped in our waste. And it gets worse. Even the coral itself, just trying to filter the water for food, ends up swallowing these tiny little bits of plastic called microplastics. It's like feeding poison to an already starving ecosystem.
Okay, so we've talked about energy from the sun, but what about the stuff itself? The plants, the animals, the coral, even the plastic. What is it all actually made of? To figure that out, we need to zoom way, way in, from the scale of an ecosystem down to the impossibly small. And the answer is matter. Now, the technical definition is anything that has mass and takes up space. But just look around you for a second. The screen you're looking at, the chair you're sitting on, even the air you're breathing, it's all matter. And all of it, every single thing, is just a giant collection of tiny little particles that are constantly moving. And the state that matter is in, solid, liquid, or gas, it all just comes down to how those particles are behaving. In a solid, they're packed super tight, just kind of vibrating in place. In a liquid, they can slide past each other, and in a gas, they're just flying all over the place. That's it. The only difference between an ice cube, a puddle of water, and steam is just how much freedom those particles have to move. And when I say these particles are tiny, I mean it is just mind-boggling. Get this, you could line up about 225,000 of them, side by side, just to cross the width of a single human hair. That is how unbelievably small the building blocks of our entire world are. Okay, so all this matter has two main kinds of properties. You've got physical properties which you can observe without changing what the thing actually is. So you can stretch a copper wire, but guess what? It's still a copper wire. Then you have chemical properties. These describe how something can totally transform into something new. Think about a match. Its chemical property is its ability to burn. And when it does that, it's not a match anymore. It's ash and smoke. Its very identity has been rewritten.
So what's the big takeaway here? Well, the web of life is how energy flows. The web of matter is the stuff that energy flows through. And we, you and me, are a part of both of these webs. Every single choice we make, from what we consume to what we throw away, sends ripples through this entire incredible system. So the real question isn't just if you'll shape it, it's what kind of shape are you going to choose to leave behind.